Welcome to the Not Too Shabby podcast, where this show is about you. Join us in this journey to view different interests, perspectives, and lifestyles, which we want to accomplish through conversation that leads to joy and creating lifetime memories. We're your hosts, Sha and V, to remind you that you're not too shabby. Keep it classy.
Thank you, Destiny. And again, I'm your host, Sha.
And I'm V.
So, V, last time we had a model, it was super exciting. She taught me so much already about, never compare yourself to another artist. And that really hit me deep. But, and I've always been trying to create stuff, screenwriting, acting. And currently, I told you, and we spoke about earlier, I've been writing a musical for quite some time now. And I could say I'm on writer's block, but also I'm, taking tests and everything. So it's been a little tough, but hey, it is coming along.
Yeah, man. I think the biggest thing when it comes to stuff like that, as long as you're continuing to move forward, because I think one of my friends says forward is forward. It doesn't matter what timeline, as long as you're moving forward, man. So
Actually, yeah,
writer's
exactly.
block tends to happen, and I know it happens all the time, especially when it comes to screenwriters, just even poets, songwriters. Just it happens, But never compare yourself to somebody else's timeline. It may be their time, not yours. But at the end of the day, your time will come. So definitely learn.
Absolutely, hopefully. But musical, it's not just about the writing, it's about the rest of the crew as well. I'm just, writing it, trying to build the story, build the music, but it's not just about that. It's about the set, it's about the costumes, it's about all of it, the lighting and everything. But we have a special guest today, by the way.
Yes, we do. Yes,
her name is Kathryn Bailey. And speaking of musicals, she is a renowned costume designer for New York City Broadway. So
that's amazing.
Kathryn, please join us.
Hey.
Hey, how you doing?
Kathryn.
Good. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for joining the Not Too Shabby podcast. So Kathryn, tell me a little bit about yourself, what you do, who you are. We all want to know who you are.
Okay. Hi. So I'm Kathryn. I'm a New York City based costume designer, and I've done some styling. I've worked on various projects. I've done Broadway, off Broadway, film and TV, anywhere from some network stuff into some features. I've done a bunch of different types of work. I think right now I'm kind of in a unique position because I've been doing a lot of assisting on larger projects, and I've been starting to kind of do my own as a lead designer. So that's been really fun, and that's what I do.
So what made you start this? What was yes, this is my dream and I'm going to follow it? How did you decide that this was going to be your dream?
So growing up, my parents were really big movie buffs. And so they would make us watch a lot of classic films. And I fell in love with a lot of the Cary Grant, Audrey Hepburn, Grace Kelly type style films. And I loved the clothes, and I just fell in love. And I also loved to paint and to draw. And I was very active like that in high school. And I liked the idea that costume design was a way to talk about character through the art elements. So it was an opportunity for me to bring in my passion with drawing and painting and clothes, and to tell a story. Because actors, you tell a story through your movement, your action, through that script, and costume designers tell a story through, shape, texture, form, silhouette, all those different things. You can really dive into the subconscious of a character through the clothes. And that was really interesting to me. And I love the storytelling aspect, which is how I kind of got into it. And I combined all these different loves into one thing. So that's how it started.
Yeah, and to be honest, I can actually, as an audience, I can actually agree to that, just because the fact that there's places that are there's places that I've seen where people have certain costumes, and it literally puts you in perspective of the timeline, the just the area, and it brings you more into the story just based on what they're wearing. So yes, I can actually agree with that.
Yeah, even now, as people, you wake up in the morning and you don't think about like what you're choosing. Like you're like, oh, I'm gonna wear this shirt today, these earrings, hat, whatever. But those choices that you had made to purchase those clothing said something about you. And when I'm like reading a script as a designer, I have to think to myself like, okay, in the morning, what would this character wake up and wear? What is their subconscious choices that would make sense? And a lot of times too, costume design, not even just like in period, like contemporary is so hard because everyone wears contemporary clothes. And so you have to think to yourself, how can I make this not feel like the costume, but feel like the person? And then I've done a bunch of period projects. And that brings on like a whole other thing too, because you have to think like, what would their undergarments be? How does that change the shape of their body? How does that affect their movement? You know, if you're wearing a corset, it's really hard to bend down, or like a ball skirt, you know, can I fit through this doorway? Weird functional things that you don't really think about now in like modern clothes. So
Absolutely. It kind of reminded me like of Romeo and Juliet. Everybody knows Romeo and Juliet. There's two different versions, one being back in who knows when. And then there's a Leo DiCaprio version where they're all just kind of wearing Hawaiian shirts and like pants with guns and everything. And it tells the story, the same exact story, but in an entirely two different perspective. And I just think that's really cool how costume can tell an entirely different story.
I agree. I love
But
it.
I do remember, if I'm not mistaken, Kathryn, back in high school, you requested something from me. Do you remember?
Oh, I don't know. I'm embarrassed now. I'm so afraid.
Okay, so this was, I think you were doing an internship in New York, and you were like, "Hey, I need Beauty and the Beast. Someone find me the Beauty and the Beast movie because I need to do costume." And I remember you're like, "Hey, Shazab, do you have Beauty and the Beast?" I was like, "Of course." And you told me all about how you're doing costume, and you were so excited. And it was just so cool that you were like, "Yes, I'm so passionate about this. I can't wait to do this."
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that. That's so crazy how that comes up out of the memory bank. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely,
I hadn't
absolutely.
seen that movie in so long. I can imagine myself being like, please help me. Someone tell me.
So, what was the most toughest, like, well, not most toughest? What is the toughest costume that you've done so far?
um, oh, that's so hard. Because every project brings its own unique, difficult thing. When you work on a Broadway show, a lot of the ones that I've worked on, it's all, you know, custom built, and you know, it's you're coming up with a world completely from scratch, and that's such a unique and crazy thing. But you also have to think about the longevity of the clothes. So if an actor's wearing that multiple times a week, and they're sweating and dancing or whatever they're doing, you have to think about how the clothes are built and constructed and maintained. Versus when I do like a film and featured project, you think about, okay, it needs to be on screen, and then after that it's filmed, it's done. You don't really have to think about it ever again, which is a blessing, you know, and a curse, because it's so much faster paced when you're doing film and TV. I think one of my favorite projects is I was on the design team for Hamilton, and I worked with Paul Tazwell, who was the costume designer and who's amazing, and I adore him. And something we talked a lot about was trying to figure out ways that the dancers could like move in their corsets, and different kind of technologies we could build there, as well as, okay, they're in these ball skirts and they're dancing and this is a musical, and making those things lighter and things kind of like that, which is so fun, you know, and creative and interesting. And then I had worked on another movie once too, where we had to build like all these different like cat suits for like a music video type thing. And it's just, but it was like being filmed like a stage, like a concert. And so there was a lot of stuff with like, oh, the metallic and how it reflects. And it's just interesting because you have to consider different things based on what the project is. Like, is it film? Is it theater? Is it, you know, and then what the actor has to do to function in it.
Absolutely.
So when it comes to stuff like that, I'm guessing like you guys would have to basically build off a budget as well, right? Just because constant, like, I mean, I guess changes to certain things, or when it comes to like different, I guess different outfits, right? That you have to give people, because not, I mean, I'm guessing you guys would have to change certain aspects about certain costumes here and there until you get the final one, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's, again, it kind of depends. A lot of the times these things are worked in the fitting. And we work with the, the drapers and the tailors and the people who make it and the actor, and we have them do various things like move or do this choreography like in weird fitting room. So that's part of it. And then also that tech period in theater where, you spend a few weeks teching everything. It's moment to moment. And sometimes there have been times where I've been on a show where we're like, oh man, we have to change this entire thing. And then that's, where you bring producers in and they're like, why are you doing this to us? And then we're like, why are you doing this to us? This doesn't work with the clothes. So it's like an ebb and flow process, but that's what working in the entertainment industry is. You have to work with all the different mediums. You work with that actor, that choreographer. That's another thing. When you do musicals, I feel like I talk to the choreographer so much as a costume designer because I have to know what they're doing. If they're flipping around and we have these hats, can they wear them, or do we fasten them with the, you contact the wig person, the hair person, you say, hey, how can we fasten this? Because they're flipping around on stage, things like that. So
I think the most interesting thing that I still have yet to figure out how quickly they change. I've been to multiple musicals and I'm just like, whoa, that was like 10 seconds. And they came out in an entirely different outfit. How? Like, are they layered or it's just like rip off and put on another one? It's like strapped in the back.
There's different ways. Like sometimes, I mean, so in the costume design world, there's the design teams, which is what I am. Usually it's like the execution of it. And then once it goes up, I leave and I do like another project. But the people that stay are the wardrobe team. And that includes like wardrobe supervisor, tailors, dressers, a bunch of other people. And dressers are assigned to specific actors to help them do these quick changes. And they actually track and manage those costumes throughout the run. So every actor will usually have like a dresser or two, who knows, depends on what the project is. And they will help them with quick changes. And then with that, usually like in the costume building process, we do a thing called quick rigging where, you have a zipper that pulls apart or snaps or Velcro, which I hate Velcro. Everything's, magnets or it's, the shoe buckles are quick rigged so that it's just like a hook. So if you have to switch your shoes, you take them on and off. There's so many little things we do in prep to make it really fast. And even layering too, there's, been several musicals I've done where, they do a quick change, a rack rolls in front of them. And they're like, look, I'm in this red dress. And the whole time it was just like scrunched and like made so that when the first part of it popped off, the whole dress laid back down. And that's like on talented drapers and stitchers and costume shops too. There are so many really well-known costume shops in New York have been doing this for years. And if you're on a project that feels impossible for a quick change, they have figured it out and done it. So they're definitely the ultimate, key there to making some of those things happen.
So what you're saying is for my musical, I come to you.
Oh, 100%. You have to come to me. I'll be so sad if you don't.
Always. It's all, again, I'm not going to talk about it, but I'm really excited. I think it's a once in a lifetime story.
I love that though. The passion of like telling like a new story is so interesting to me. It's my favorite part of designing. I get a new script, and if I work with a new writer in particular that's super passionate about what they're doing, it makes it better for me. I love reading the script and just like dissecting each thing. You think about not only like, oh, would this character wear this? You think about their world, like what music do they listen to? What's going on like socially? Like what is their economic status? Like, can they afford to wear, Prada or Gucci? Are they like a Target kind of girl, And all these things play an influence. And I love it when people are passionate because I love it. So I like feel fueled from it. I'm like, I'll tell your story. It makes me happy, but
it's amazing.
That's my element.
It's kind of like any actor, right? You feel from the story. So like actors themselves, they actually have to tell the story. But, what the audience doesn't really know is these other parts of the production, like costume design, set designers, all those, they're actually telling more of the story than the actors are, because they're providing the location, the personality. Because I feel like, first impression, you look at someone, what type of clothes is this person wearing? Oh, this guy's wearing like a hoodie, some baggy pants. This guy's probably just kind of laid back. Or a suit, this guy's really uptight. He's all really professional. So you're telling so much of the story and people don't even realize it.
I know.
Exactly.
Well, what's interesting too is a lot of times I'm hired onto a project like well in advance before something is cast. So that's always interesting too, because I've been working with like a director or a producer, or writer, whoever on a project. And sometimes you'll be hired and be working on it for months, even like years. And then, they'll cast people and you're like, it's interesting because sometimes an actor will even bring in a new perspective you didn't think about. And you're even though you've been, living and breathing this one script and story, it's just interesting how everything is just added on top of each other.
Awesome. So
awesome. I think that's
my
amazing.
favorite musical yet is The Book of Mormon.
Okay.
But Kathryn, what's your favorite musical?
Oh man, that's so
I know
hard.
it's a tough question.
I mean, I'm super biased because like I loved Hamilton because I was a part of it, and it was like a big transitional musical for me in terms of like the type of work I got. I don't know if I'm super biased with that musical, and I feel like everyone says it, but I had a really magical experience working on it, watching it go from nothing. It's so funny because I remember when I was hearing about it and I got asked to like send my resume to like one of the associate designer, I remember thinking to myself, oh, I really, really want to do this, but I'm really broke and I don't care what it is. And when someone told me the musical idea, I remember thinking, ugh, whatever, it'll pay my bills. And it ended up being like the biggest life-changing thing I got to work on. Just so funny to think back on. I was just, living in New York, couch surfing, hating myself, being like, I'll take anything. And then it turned into this crazy thing. So
yeah, Hamilton's amazing. I think it's great.
Yeah. Well, you and I watched it together actually on Disney Plus. But
yeah,
I haven't seen it in person yet. I really wanted to, but
you should.
We literally watched it right after an exam, and we're like, you know what? We're not gonna do anything for the rest of the day. And he was like, "Do you want to watch Hamilton?" I was like, I'm always down for any sort of Broadway musical or anything like that because I do appreciate that kind of stuff. So we literally sat in our classroom, projected it into the wall, and started watching it.
Oh, I love that. That makes me so happy. I haven't a family seen it yet either, and it was really cool to like have them watch it. I brought my parents to see the original cast and all of that too, so that was nice that they got to do that.
Jealous because I really want to meet Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Very nice.
It's just he's just amazing. I think he was fantastic in the Mary Poppins Returns. I'm excited for In the Heights. Yeah. All those look so great.
Told you. In the Heights was also really good because I got to see that one in person.
Oh, cool. Oh, yes, In the Heights is really good. Yeah, I worked a little bit on the movie. I wasn't there full time, but I was there a little bit, which was fun. I just did some shopping for them,
If I'm correct, I think it comes out on HBO Max, right?
When does it come out? Do you know?
No. It's funny because I was supposed to have something else come out on Netflix last month, and then I realized it wasn't on Netflix. I was like, when does that come out? It's like, I need to really follow up on some of these projects.
So have you ever been like, just like super surprised, like, oh my gosh, I finally met this actor or this celebrity? Starstruck by any of them?
I don't know. It's weird because when you work with the celebrities, you realize I honestly don't envy them. I feel like they're followed around a lot. Like there's certain like high-end celebrities I worked with where like paparazzi is really relentless. And I almost feel bad because I can't imagine like having a life where people are constantly following you around. Like I just get to dip into the glamour and then peace out and like have like a normal.
You still get your privacy.
Yeah. But I'm trying to think if there's anyone in particular. Sometimes I'm like, I don't want to meet my favorite like I like love Beyonce, but if I almost don't want to meet her because I'm afraid like what if she doesn't live up to the hype in my mind, but I'm sure she does because she's beautiful. But I don't know who was really fun. I got to work with Natalie Portman on a movie, and
Vox
it
Lux.
was really nice. Yeah, on Fox Lux. I actually met with you for coffee when I was on that movie. I think you were in the city.
Oh, that
Um,
was then? I know you were super busy then. So you're
I
like,
know.
hey, I've got like lunch. This is the only time we can meet up.
I know. I was like, meet me on this corner. I think I came with like a ton of fabric. I was like, had like 100 bags with me, and you were just, what are you doing?
Yeah, absolutely.
My life is so hard right now. But yeah, she was super nice and nice, really nice to the crew and the people. And I thought that was left a lot, like a lasting impression.
Mhm.
And she was talking to me, which was nice. I wasn't like a super high position on that job. I was just part of the team, but I always, that kind of sits with you well when, you know, your really high end talent is nice to everyone. You remember
Absolutely.
that, you know?
Yeah.
Humble. Always stay humble.
Yeah.
So V, I forgot to ask you, what is your favorite musical? I mean, I know I kind of skipped over you.
I mean, I've only seen actually a few. I don't know if you've ever seen Miss Saigon.
Oh,
Um,
I have, yeah.
Miss
I
Saigon,
haven't.
Miss Saigon is I think amazing. One of my favorite, um, I guess actresses that like played a part was still Lea Salonga. She's a Filipino native, so I think that's amazing. She's also did some of the singing voice in Mulan, actually. So Miss Saigon, if you ever get to see it, and then my other one was my first time actually learning to appreciate Broadway was when I got to see In the Heights. So up in
Oh,
the Pantages Theater here in Los Angeles. So
Amazing, amazing. Kathryn, so I'm just super excited about, you know, all that you've done. And I want to give you my work as well, whenever it is ready, of course. But so like the process of becoming a costume designer, can you tell us a little bit about that? Because our audience probably have these dreams and they just don't know where to start.
yeah. I went to school actually, and I got a degree in costume and set design. I actually did both. I love set design too. That's like a whole. We could do another podcast on that. But I got my degree in costume and set, and then I also, when I was in school, I did like a lot of focusing again on painting and drawing because that's like another side thing that I love doing. But it's interesting because in the costume design world, I don't think I've known a single person that's had the same path. And I actually was a guest speaker at my university yesterday, talking about this with like young students, talking about how my path and my journey to where I got, it was kind of insane. It was more of like I was relentless and wouldn't like let it go. Like I just kept emailing people and would show up places and be like, please look my portfolio. Like I promise. Because I didn't have any connections in New York. And I really just knew I needed to be there. And that's what I wanted. And I felt I was the only person that knew that I could do it. No one else knew who I was. So I just kind of forced myself into rooms. And every time I met someone in the industry, I would ask like, hey, like, can you give me one person that you're willing to send me their email or whatever? If not, that's fine. And then I would meet that person. And then I would ask again, like, hey, is there one more person that I could meet? And you kind of start off doing non-union work. So it's like PA work, which isn't that glamorous, but it is a really good way to meet people and put your, get your foot in the door. A lot of that work is like you drive around the shoppers, you go and drop things on and off on set. It's, it's not fancy, but it is a really good way to meet people. And just getting on one set, honestly, will help you, or theater, whatever your, interest is,
Mhm.
will really help open some doors. And then from there, you can kind of expand. Like I had joined the union a while ago, and that was because I was taking like assistant designing jobs or union design jobs and things like that. And when you're a member of the union, it really helps with contracts, and you're protected under your union. You get healthcare, hey, things like that, which is nice. And that's kind of how you start. But a lot of it too is like director. If you want to be a costume designer, it's like director and producer relationships, working with new playwrights, expanding like the people, reading a bunch of new scripts, seeing new plays. Like I've been to a bunch of weird readings, like in basements in New York City, just to like hear something new. Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad, but I've actually met a couple of directors I liked working with that way. And I was like, wow, I mean, I know we're in the middle of nowhere right now, but this is really good. And I enjoyed this. And it's just a lot of networking and talking to people and then finding your people. I've worked for some people that like we're fine, but we just we're not like really we don't click as much like artistically. And then there are those directors I work with where, the director will be like, you're an extension of my mind. And you're like, oh, cool. So finding your group and then also like continuing to network and really advocate for yourself. That's like the number one. I mean, the worst thing people can tell you is no. And I have been rejected so many times. Like it feels like nothing now. Like at first I was like, no one wants to talk to me, but no, it's fine. Like it's just the nature of the industry. Just put yourself out there. And, I think part of it too was moving to New York. Like I knew if I wanted to work at the top of my industry, I needed to be in LA or New York, at least for me. So I moved to New York and forced it to happen, I guess. If that makes sense.
Go after your dreams. That's what that is.
Yeah.
And Vaughn, like the previous episodes, everybody's been telling this. Don't be afraid of that no, because you don't know when that no could be a yes.
Exactly.
Oh, that is 100% true. I stand by that.
And then that resiliency from the other episode, like a lot of people tend to give up after that first time. So, and what you said, you just kept going and email. And one thing I learned from her today is the whole aspect of networking, right? It's just the fact that you even said sometimes you just ask somebody, hey, is there a person's email that you can just give me? Because that person can lead to somebody else. It can lead to somebody else. It can lead to somebody else. So I think that's amazing.
Absolutely. And hey, thank you, Kathryn, for telling us all these inside secrets about being as awesome as you are. And now I know for a fact that I'm going to come to you, and anyone who is listening to this podcast, she's the girl to talk to. So if you need that email, which I do not have right now, but I will acquire it, feel free to ask. Kathryn, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure. And thank you for giving us all these cool info.
Yeah, thank you.
This was so fun.
Absolutely. Thank you. Wow. Vaughn, I told you, she's pretty awesome, isn't she?
Now, I think that's amazing. It's just a whole different side of entertainment, I guess, that we got at, We've talked to producers, models, and now the costume designing end of it. Not even just costume. She also said set designing, which is, I think, also amazing. So,
and I kind of want to bring her back for set design because she said it's a whole different thing and she's really passionate about it. And I think like what I love about our guests on this podcast is that each one person has been passionate about what they do. Dr. Love and matchmaking, Eric Diaz and entrepreneurship, Varen Cofield and acting, producing and writing, the model we had, Felicia Burr, and then Destiny with, sports, dietitian, dieting and all. And then now Kathryn, costume design, just, you wouldn't think, costume design is just, what this person should be wearing, blah, blah, blah. But no, it's actually telling a story. And I think that's kind of beautiful in my head, because if you think about it, like as a writer, as an artist, anybody, you don't just draw a painting and just be like, yeah, this guy's not going to be wearing anything. You got to tell the story through that as well. Each actor has to have a certain specific costume to tell his own story. And I think that's so cool because not many people think about that.
Yeah. And I think what people don't understand is like, yes, it takes one, like, you have you good actor, good actresses and stuff like that to portray the role, but what they wear too tells a lot about a character, and that's very important. I remember when I was young, I got to play like a little play and stuff like that. So I was Peter Pan, and I was kind of upset that I didn't have the same exact costume as the cartoon. I was just like, why am I just wearing tights and shorts? But I was like, you know what? But me being in a Peter Pan costume, I was like, you know what? I think I could fly too, So I think I was still in third grade when that happened, and I never forgot about that. So I think it was
You know,
amazing.
I think one time I was supposed to be a tree, and they said I was the coolest tree ever because I was the strongest tree out there.
That's right.
But you know, it depends. You know, if I'm a twig on the set, or if I'm an actual, you know, a huge tree hump.
Hey, and exactly. It's like it helps you get into your inner character when you know you have the right clothing, you know? I always tend to say, like, even in sports when I was playing, I was like, they were like, why do you have, I was like, to be honest with you, it makes me feel better about myself because I know like if I feel like I feel good, I look good, then I'll play good. Like I've always had that instinct. So I guess even in like Broadway, right? Or in movies, like if you feel like you are wearing the right outfit, you can portray that character even more so.
Absolutely, it changes the entire atmosphere because, like, if I wanted to be like, let's say when I'm writing characters, I imagine them in my head, and I'm like, what are they going to be wearing? But I don't expect, you know, an actor to not look like what I'm imagining. If they don't feel the way that I felt writing it, they're not going to deliver what I want. And
Exactly.
it's the costume design's job to, you know, take the playwright's mind and put it onto stage into that
Exactly.
character. So that's awesome, man.
Yeah, I think that's super, super great, man. And you know what? Hey, can I be a part of your musical, dude? Like, you know,
You want to be the
I could be a
protagonist
tree.
or
I could be a
antagonist?
tree. I could be a
See,
tree.
there's no trees. How about this? How about this? You could be the pet.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
All right, you can be the pet.
I'll take it.
But hey, everyone, thank you for listening to this amazing journey by Kathryn Bailey. And you know, remember that you're not too shabby.
So keep it classy.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week.